Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to NTV Exclusive. We are into 2017 and this is the first Saturday night NTV Exclusive. Yes, for 2017 we've moved over to Saturdays for our live show, and each week we will have an exclusive matter to talk about, exclusive guest that will come on, and I'm very thankful today that I have two. So hopefully coming up at the bottom of your screen, the title for today, NTV Exclusive, is going to be talking about Bangla is not my mother tongue. You may be asking a very interesting question. Why would we say Bangla is not my mother tongue? Or in a Bengali show, we're still going to be talking about Bangla. So what's this all about? Well, I'm pleased to welcome my guest on the show today, Mr. Robert Scott. Thank you for coming along from Shantirboy. I'm honoured again to have you, and I know it's just a little under a year when we last came on to talk about Shantirboy, but today we're talking about something absolutely exclusive and probably a first time here in the UK, isn't it?
We hope so, yeah. I hope it's going to be enlightening for everybody. Yeah.
Brilliant. So what we're going to look at is there's an upcoming event, and you should probably see coming back and forth on the screens, and we will go on to show you a bit more about it. There's a very, very exclusive event coming up, and it's all about going deep into the roots of Bangla. Now, for those of you that are born and bred here in the UK, of Bangladeshi origin, which probably is predominantly a lot of the viewers that we've got, plus obviously we've got friends that are all watching. We are going deep and looking at the language of Nagri. Now, some of you may be able to relate to your grandparents or your great-grandparents who would recall a little bit of Nagri, but it seems to be a forgotten language. It seems to be something that's completely gone off the face of the earth, shall we say. Well, maybe not anymore with the upcoming event of Bangla is not my mother tongue, because this is going to look at Nagri, how that shouldn't be forgotten, how it's a unique language, and the benefits behind it. And I will do my best to go into Sylheti every now and again and test Mr. Scott, who has that hidden talent. And those of you that may have watched our program on Shantirboy, shall I say, sorry, just a little under a year ago, Robert did an exclusive passage in Nagri for us, and it was wonderful. It was a poem by someone from Zoki Goinj, and no doubt when you get to see some of the books that we've got in front of us and some of the screens coming up, we've got a lot of that. Robert, I think we should probably start, because maybe a lot of people are seeing this for the first time and maybe not seen our previous program. Tell us a bit about Nagri and the history behind it.
Well, I think what people don't realise, particularly for Bangladeshi-born, bred people living in East London, that Sylheti is a real language, not simply a dialect, not simply bad Bangla, as often has been the case. And one of the things that helps to show that, I think, is Nagri, the alphabet that's behind it. It's an alphabet that particular poems were written in, and newspapers even. But that just got forgotten as part of partition when India split up into India and Pakistan, East and West Pakistan. People in East Pakistan had to learn Bangla and Urdu, and to have Sylheti Nagri script alphabet to learn as well got forgotten a little bit. And then sadly, during the Liberation War in 71, some of the presses, the printing presses that were actually in Sylheti Nagri were destroyed, and it all got forgotten from there. But the first Sylheti Nagri press was from about 1870. A man went from Sylhet, travelled through Europe and into Britain, and brought back different types of printing press to Sylhet. And then there were printing presses set up by him, Islami press it was called, in Sylhet, in Sunamganj, in Shillong, and even in Calcutta, because there were so many Sylheti people working in the docks of Calcutta as well. And from that he produced newspapers and books and some poetry, some of which we have here.
Do you want to just pick some up, which we'll no doubt go through later on as well, but some of the most popular ones that you've brought along with you?
Yeah, so this is a book called 10 Sylheti Poems, or Doshto Sylheti Kobita, written in Sylheti Nagri primarily, but with an English translation. So for someone for whom Sylheti is not my mother tongue, let alone Bangla is not my mother tongue, I can understand it. But then there's also it's transliterated into Bengali, so people who can't read Nagri, which is probably most of the world, could read the Bangla as well. But when I was in Sylhet with my family, we were taught Sylheti language, and we were taught how to read it and write it. So I can actually read this kind of stuff, and one particular poem here by Hassan Raja.
I tell you what, let's go for another exclusive on this. For those of you, a lot of you know Hassan Raja as the great Kobita, the great poet. let's hear one of Hassan Raja's Nagri poems. So, Robert, when you're ready, fire away.
I will just get my excuses in before I start. I cannot do the right kind of rhyme and rhythm or the right singing voice. We've got a friend staying with us at the moment who is a professor of theatre studies from Dhaka University. And I said, how should I say this? And he gave it a quick tune and I couldn't follow it well enough. So we'll try and speak it, but I apologise for not getting the rhythm quite right. By Hassan Raja. Amina loilam ala jirre namre, nar khoilam tarkham. Misa khaze Hassan Raje zibon goailam re. Bober khaze moto hoya dingelo goya. Afon khaznar khoilam. Rohilam buliare. Nam loimu khori au khoil shesh. Echono na khoilai Hassan. Pran bondur udeshore. Ashoi bishoi fire Hassan khoilai zomindari. Sirodin takbani tor lachon sirire. Khande Hassan Raje hi hoibe ufai ruz hashorer din zokon hushibe kudaire. Sar Hassan Raja bober ash ekmone sinta horo hoitai bonder dash re. He wrote that probably late in his life. Saying, I haven't lived for Allah. My life has been lived in vain pleasures. What will happen to me on Judgment Day? I've gone after wealth, but will I have the wealth of paradise? And he's saying he's wasted his life. Something that should challenge all of us. Would we be in his position? What will happen to us on Judgment Day? Have we spent our lives in vain pleasures, as he says? Or have we sought to follow God? And what if we haven't sought to follow him every day of our life? What will happen to us? Is kind of what this poem is asking us of ourselves.
Do you mind if I think what I want to do is actually, for those of you that actually just heard you read that, I want to hold this up, and I'm hoping we can get a closer image of this, because if we can get this, you might be able to look at this and see that it's actually, there you go, it's in Nagri. So if I just raise it a little bit higher, it's in Nagri. This is what Robert has just read. And for those of you that would call yourselves very Shuddha Bhasha literate and very used to the Bangla language, try reading that, because that is in pure Nagri. And I hope I've got that politically correct to say pure, because it's over to the other side where I'm just pointing out there. That's the transliteration and the translation, shall I say? But that's the Nagri there. So that is a very difficult language. So the fact that Robert's been able to read that over to us, thank you, Robert, for that. That's absolutely marvellous, and no doubt that's absolutely exclusive to TV right now. But I think we will come back to these poem books a bit more, because we need. I'd like to talk about the event coming up, because I think this event, for those of you that are watching, it's very worthwhile. It's an exhibition. There's nothing there apart from promoting the language of Nagri, and I think it's very worthwhile everyone going to this. If I take you across to the screens, we can probably have a look at some detail and some slideshows on that. So just up there on the screen for you, you've got the language of tree. Robert, do you want to just talk us through that while we've got it on the screen?
That's just showing that languages are related to one another. You've got different branches, all from a root of Indo-European on this particular one. The European branches onto the right, and the Indo on the left. And you've got Bengali and Assamese and Sylheti, and they're all related, clearly, but they're all a little bit different. When it comes to Bengali and Sylheti, there's about 80% overlap. So there's clearly understanding, but there's also distinction.
If we go over to the next slide there, this just going to come up back on the screen for you, is a language map. Do you want to just explain this language map for us?
So that particular map, again, is showing that the rootedness of the languages. So are they Dravidian? Are they Indo-European? And most of the languages of Bangladesh are Indo-European. But then if we key into the northeast region of Bangladesh, and here obviously we have Sylhet on your right there, the northeast eastern region, and that's given it a distinct colour graphic as a distinct language there. And if you go in, it's not on the map, but into Assam, on the west there, you have another 1 million Sylheti speakers. So there's probably about 9 million Sylheti speakers in Sylhet, and then another 1 million over the border in Assam, in India. And then much of the rest of Bangladesh is clearly speaking Bengali. Again, there's similarities, but there's difference according to the linguists.
So, and then coming up now, we've got a sort of very old piece of, am I allowed to call it a scripture? Or?
Yes, it's a script, and the book there is at the front from the Paradise Lost, a Sylheti ballad. This stuff is so hard to read. This is kind of the original photocopied manuscript, and then it's made a little bit easier by putting it into Nagri, and there's a translation, but that is super hard to read. I can't do that.
So it gets even more complicated there, but what you just saw is from this book, Sylheti Ballad, False Paradise, and if I just open up a few pages, hopefully we can get a close-up view of this. You can actually see there, over on where my right hand is pointing at now, this is the sort of original scripture. There we go. So let me get this right. There we go. So that's the original scripture that's been maintained. And then across here, is that the translation we've got there? So
you've got a translation into English, and then also a transliteration in Roman script, in English script, so that anybody could read it, if they were European, really.
Right. Okay, that's brilliant. And then, you know, right, so the direct transliteration at the top and translation at the bottom. I'm not going to try.
Chicken.
Yes, chicken is murug. You can call me a murug for today. But there you can see the complexity of the Bangla language. And for those of you that well, Sylheti, I know there's a lot of YouTubers out there that make these Sylheti jokey videos, but if you actually look at the essence and the root of this language, it's absolutely phenomenal what they've got there. I'm going to take you back up onto the screens, because I think from that scripture we still there's still a bit more that we can probably see, and I take it we've probably got the alphabet as well, haven't we? So yeah. if I move across there, up on the screen now, this is the Nagri alphabet, isn't it?
That's right. So this wasn't devised by us at all, but again by some linguists who are working with Sylheti people in Birmingham, who wanted their children to learn to read and write their language. And this was a workbook that was put together, learn to read and write Sylheti. And when we were in Sylhet, we were taken through this book. And the alphabet is there, and it should be on the screen as well. We put it on the
So what you've seen on the screen, and now Robert's holding up, there we go, it's back up on the screen.
Lovely. So yeah, that shows you that the letters that are part of Sylheti Nagri, that there are fewer than standard Bangla, which made it much easier for me and my family to memorise and to learn and to read. But clearly there's similarities as well. You can spot some letters that are the same between Nagri and Bangla. And this workbook just takes us through how you read and write this.
A question that I think a lot of people will ask, and I certainly will ask, with the alphabet of Nagri, surely the fact that it's been consolidated, have we lost some sounds? Or put it the other way around, did we gain some sounds from the new alphabet and actually comparing it to the English alphabet?
I find that the Sylheti Nagri alphabet fits Sylheti much more closely than either a Roman alphabet, trying to put it into sounds that I understand, or into the Bengali alphabet. It seems to fit better, presumably because that's how the language developed. So again, there are relationships, but it is a better fit. And the linguists suggest that they didn't develop from one another, either Nagri from Bengali or Bengali from Nagri, but they both probably developed separately, probably from a Sanskrit type root.
Okay. That's your introduction into Nagri and a slight touch on the upcoming event. We've still got so much more to talk about. We need to talk about this exhibition that's coming up, and I tell you what, I don't plan to give it a miss. I hope none of you are, but we need to tell you more about it so you know what you're getting yourself into. So we're going to go for a quick break. When we come back, we'll be picking up all of this. There's so many more books, so I'm going to try my best to go through every single one. It's certainly a learning curve for me, so don't go away. You want to learn more about Sylheti and the origins behind it? See you in a few minutes. Until then.